Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike, your host of Saturday Morning Multifamily Unplugged. And I got to just tell you, I've been waiting a long time for this morning, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I just want to welcome everybody here this morning. You know, we are here every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., except when a holiday falls on Saturday. So that doesn't happen often, but we are typically here. I want to just encourage everybody, hey, you know, on Saturday morning, we have raw unscripted radio. We talk about multifamily. We talk about real estate. We talk about things that, you know what, invariably we're going to fall in some rabbit hole and try and figure out how to get out of. And I kind of warned my guests of that this morning. Hey, I am joined this morning by Kris and Angela from Windy City REI. And I have to tell you, I'm excited about having these guys on this morning. You know, here's two individuals that came from the healthcare field and are jumped into real estate full force, building a multifamily portfolio, building a real estate portfolio. And we're going to talk about that and their background a lot this morning. What I really want to zone in on multifamily today, and I really want to focus on how do we build that? How do we come from working a W-2 job and being so focused on that and, you know, building a family to going and jumping into the real estate business and the multifamily space? So I'm going to bring them in a minute, but first I want to just remind you that our show today is sponsored by the upcoming women's event that we're hosting. Boy, I get the honor to host a couple of really powerful women on March 8th. So the morning of March 8th, you'll be getting some information about it. So watch your Facebook, watch your LinkedIn for it. But the morning of March 8th, we're going to feature a couple of really powerful women, one from just the real estate space and one from the just being a woman entrepreneur and how important that is in today's marketplace. So I hope to see you there on March 8th from 9 o'clock till 11. Let me bring our guests in this morning and get this party started. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Good morning.
I am so excited about you guys being here this morning. It's just I'm really glad and honored that you would join me on Saturday morning. And I know sometimes things can get kind of hectic and busy, but here's what I want to do. I want you guys, you know, tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you guys are up to, and how you got in this crazy business of real estate.
For sure.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. So my background is in therapeutic recreation, which essentially is being able to design and implement programs for individuals with like disabling conditions, and we help them get back to their activities of daily living and improve their quality of life. So that was my main background. And I kind of dived into the senior living space and older adult population. So for the past 6 years, I've worked at different facilities, different levels of care. You know, I taught Tai Chi, I taught fitness classes, did a little bit of everything, party program planning and everything like that. So that was my initial background. During that time, Kris was also in nurse anesthesia school, and we were planning for our wedding at the same time. He was reading real estate books. I don't know how he managed to do all of that at the same time. And he was trying to convince me to get into to real estate. And I was just, no, I'm not interested. You know, Kris was like the brain behind all of it. And I was still like, oh no, I'm not really interested. So to look back and think like we were, you know, I was in recreation therapy and healthcare, and now we're into the real estate space has kind of been eye-opening to say the least. And, you know, having that experience in senior living, I was able to meet a lot of my, get really close to my coworkers and really learn about the business aspect of it. I finally got into real estate from Kris, who was just, you know, he was playing YouTube videos loud in the house. And I was just like, he was purposely trying to make me like listen to it. I didn't want to hear it. And then it started with like podcasts, like money management podcasts, listening to and from work. So I think that initially started it, and then reading books about it, then slowly started getting, it took me a little while. It took a lot of nudging from Kris, getting into that. So fast forward a little bit, I talked to my boss and I was interested in the property management aspect of it.
Oh.
So the company that I worked for is a property management company that specializes in senior living communities. And I expressed an interest just because we were starting to get into real estate and I was interested in it. So I slowly shifted into the assistant director role. I did a lot of day-to-day management operation things in that, and still did some activity stuff because I still enjoyed that. But I, learned a lot about day-to-day operations, complaints, maintenance orders, everything from, in senior living was definitely very, very eye-opening. And I think that has just allowed us to learn more and more about the real estate space. And I think where we're going with this is, we're interested in multifamily, but we're also interested in the senior living space as well.
Interesting. And for 1 minute, I'm not going to believe that Kris is the brains behind any of this. So I'm not even going to go there with you.
I'm just the crazy one. I'm just the crazy one on that fly in the wall that just keeps annoying you.
Yeah.
That's what Steve Jobs said, right? This is for the crazy ones, the rebels, the round pegs in the square holes.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's awesome, Angela. So today, so Kris, why don't you tell how you wound up getting involved? Angela kind of said, Kris started this whole thing and, really became contagious. Where did it come from for you?
Yeah, for sure. So, first and foremost, we were having the pleasure of dating and we're now married now. But at the time, this was 2006, was it 16? It was about 2016 or so where I proposed. First 2007?
No.
Oh, God.
Kris, you figure that out.
You
probably want to figure that out. Put it in a day planner somewhere.
But I proposed to Angela. And at that time, I had just got accepted to anesthesia school. I was starting my program. And I joke around all the time. I was a professional student for 11 years, 2 bachelor's degrees, and now I have my doctorate degree. That path going towards earning that degree, took up the vast majority of my life up until that point. And, when we finally proposed and Angela became my fiance, a realization hit me like, wow, it's not just me anymore. I have another life that I'm going to be responsible for. Mm-hmm. And, we knew that at the end of it, we'd come out, we'd be making good salary and things like that. But the understanding happened when I'm like, well, what if something happens to me, right? Like, what if something happens to me? I'm unable to go to work. At that point, it doesn't matter if you're making $7 an hour or $700 an hour. The moment you're not able to go to work anymore, you're effectively making $0 an hour. And so
disability insurance really doesn't cut it, right?
Absolutely. Especially when there's a certain quality of life that you want to live. And if we're blessed with kids in the future, that's also things that we're going to have to take into consideration. And so that's when the realization hit me. And I realized that we needed to develop multiple streams of income to ensure that, we're all taken care of in the future. And then the concept of time freedom also came about, right? Because, I understood that, while we were in school, people kept drilling this into your heads like, all right, well, get ready, guys. This is going to be what you're doing for the next 30 years. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know if the next 30 years, 30 years is a long time to be doing the same thing. And there are so many other things in our life that we want to experience, that we want to do, that we want to make an impact on the world. And we knew that we needed to have full control over our time in order to be able to do so. And so when you combine the passive income that you can obtain through real estate investing, that will really afford you the freedom to have control over your time and do the things that it is you truly want to do. So that's how it came about.
So where are you guys at in your real estate journey today? You started out doing single family. Now you're moved into the multifamily. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we started off really with a house hack. At the time we were living at our parents' place,
rent free.
It came with a meal plan. And, we wanted to continue on with that because we understood how much of an impact that would have, right? When you think about people's spending habits and their monthly budgets, the largest allocation of your budget is towards your housing.
Hmm.
And so if we were able to figure out a solution to eliminate that largest expense, that would really set the foundation for years to come when it comes to, how much more your capital you're able to invest, in yourself and in your future. And so it started out with a house hack. It's 2 units with a garden. We're still living in here now. And this was actually in the middle of anesthesia school. And so, here I am working, 40 to 60 hours in the hospital and studying for exams and things of that sort. And we're also searching for properties on the weekend that we can move into. And at the time, I couldn't qualify for a loan. So it was all Angela, leveraging Angela's credit and her income to be able to qualify.
Scared to death.
And this was like at the end of 2019, going into January of 2020, where we finally closed on our first property.
Yeah, before the pandemic. Right
before the pandemic. As you can imagine, this was January 2020. It was a fully occupied property, but we knew that we needed to do extensive renovations to the place in order to make it habitable, but also be able to drive rents up to market. And so by the time the entire place got vacated, it was March. Mm-hmm. And as you can imagine, April, that's when the government really shut everything down.
Yeah.
And so here we are, jobless, student loans, and we had a property that was completely vacant. And I remember having a conversation with my contractor, and I was like, "Hey man, are you still going to be able to go to Home Depot? Like, are we still even going to be able to get this thing done?"
Great question, Kris.
Everything
go to Home Depot?
Yeah, like how are we gonna get this renovation done?
Oh,
and it was a pretty sizable renovation, and we had to leverage. We could have done a 2 or 3K loan with the FHA loan, right? But unfortunately, just because of what we were capable of qualifying for, the rehab costs would have set us way above what we were pre-approved for. So at that point, we're like, okay, well, what can we leverage? Well, we had 2 0% interest credit cards, we had 2 personal lines of credit, and we had a 401k loan, and that's really what afforded us that first rehab on our property.
Wow.
And fast forward, what is it, like about a year later,
refinance.
We were lucky enough that the market turned, and we were able to take advantage of the rising home prices, and really refinance out all of that initial investment back out.
Yeah, nice, good for you. So kind of following that BRRRR method, that BRRRR strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. And so from that, we were able to leverage that and open up a home equity line of credit, and purchase our second property, which is a 4-unit here in the same neighborhood of Irving Park, and kind of running through that same strategy.
So, here's what's really interesting. We met by your REIA group. And so here you are, new real estate investor, just kind of getting your feet wet, and you go out and you start a real estate investing meetup networking group. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah. So with Windy City REI, as investors with no experience in the industry, both Angela and I, we don't come from a background in business. We don't come from a background in accounting or finance or real estate by that matter. We knew that we had to position ourselves around those who are experts in the industry in order to really streamline our education. And so, we created Windy City REI along with our 2 partners, April as well as Alex Ferraro. And it really gave us 2 things, right? It gave us, 1, full control over our education, because we were able to pick and choose the experts in the industry that will be able to seal those gaps in our knowledge base. And in doing so, it was really able to make us that much more sophisticated in a very short amount of time. And then it also elevated the members who were attending our meetup and gave them that higher level of sophistication as well. The other thing was Windy City REI gave us a platform to leverage and really appeal to these experts in the industry and give them a platform for them to get exposure to a larger audience than if we were to just reach out to them ourselves. And truthfully, that's really seemed to work out.
I've been coming to the event now since middle of last year, I think summer of last year. And I actually think I just kind of stumbled in on it one day. I was online looking for something. I said, wow, this looks interesting. I don't have anything going on this afternoon. And I went over there, and I was, really saw a couple people I knew, and wound up, meeting you guys, meeting April and Jillian, and just really started going back because you had really bring some great content, some great speakers to the event, and and it's all about knowledge, right? It's about that knowledge base. But here's what I like about what you guys have said so far. So Angela's kind of in the distance going, Kris is crazy.
Yes.
Listing all this stuff. He's going to screw our lives up.
We're going to be poor.
We're not even married yet. He's going to make us go broke. But she's saying all that on one hand, and on the other hand, she's going, damn, he's right. How can he be so right? So now you got this education piece going on, and you're educating yourself. You go start this group to bring up more education. But what I find is so many people get stuck in that education mode, and they don't. They get and analysis paralysis, right? They're educating themselves, but they don't take action. And you guys have gone and taken action, and look what you've built at this point. So I think that, you're a great example, and you bring that message to other people in the space especially when they're new. And new people need that level of, hey, somebody else did it, I can go do it myself. So where do you guys want to go? I mean, let's talk about what the future looks like personally, and for Windy City, for that matter.
For Windy City.
Yeah, I guess you want to talk about our personal why, like why we're doing this in the first place, I guess, because there's a lot of stuff that we want to do, from a personal standpoint that's kind of driven.
Mm-hmm. Having the background in healthcare, obviously we're interested in multifamily, but also senior living, facilities. But our why is, that time freedom. And like Kris said, I'm 31, Kris is 32. We don't know if we're going to be, if we want to work another 34 years in the same position. So we're trying to figure out ways to, ways around that. And that's through real estate investing. And I truly believe that. And, I think a quote that a lot of people can attest to, like real estate investors, is, you don't know what you don't know. And we can be professional students for the rest of our life. And, we used to get made fun of, like our neighbor was like, oh, you're still a student. Like, when are you going to graduate? He was always taking school. So, that's not an insult, I guess. Right. So it's for our family, time freedom. Obviously, I'd like to retire our parents and just have that passive income, and and also in the healthcare field. Kris and I, what year did we go to? Honduras for a medical mission trip.
2020. Yeah.
We really enjoyed that. We would like to provide that opportunity for others to join us in a medical mission trip in the future. So empowering. It was great. I definitely want to go back.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I know I'm involved in some things here locally in the city, and it is empowering when you are able to give back or give to somebody else and do something that's out of the norm. Could you, Angela, would you do this? Would you talk about the difference between senior living and multifamily, and why you keep bringing that up a few times here? Why is that a passion of yours?
Yeah, I have actually had some facts that I wanted to kind of share. Right now we're in the, I guess, silver tsunami. Silver tsunami, where all the baby boomers by the year of 2030 will be, we're in 2020 right now. So by 2030, all baby boomers will be 65 years or older.
Right. I fall into that category, by the way. Thanks for bringing that up. And
that's for you, Mike.
Kris, do you have anything you want to say now?
And just having experience in senior living, I've seen the growth of like retirement communities, beautiful retirement communities, and this environment. So, we're seeing a shift in people selling their homes and moving to these really nice retirement communities. Some other facts that I wanted to share was that, there's 77 million baby boomers. 10,000 people per day turn 65 years old, and 4,000 per day turn 85 years old. And, we're only living longer as well. So those numbers were
So I knew the number. I knew the number that 10,000 people a day were turning 65, and that there were like 5 more years or 6 more years of that happening. So that's a big number. But 4,000 a day are turning 85.
85.
Okay, so that means that just little basic math says that there's 6,000 that have died off in 20 years.
But living longer as well too.
Yeah. So.
But that's a thing, right? So, you think about, from an investor standpoint, where the opportunities are, right? So one, that demand for senior housing is only going to increase over the next 10 years, right? Because you have that many people that are eventually going to get to a point where they need to consolidate their housing situation. Maybe they don't need this, 2,000, 3,000 square foot home anymore. And they're going to need these increasing services as far as their medical concerns. And so being able to address that through senior housing is definitely something that is a good opportunity. And also multifamily, right? Multifamily, there's still a large demand relative to supply. And, I was just over at the Intelligent Real Estate Investors Conference over in LA last month. What they were saying was that, we're still trying to keep up with the split between supply and demand since 2010. So when 2008 happened, right, what happened to new development? It completely stopped. Right. And so there was this discrepancy now between supply relative to demand. And over the years, you see that housing assets have continued to go up in price. In fact, right now, with inflation taking place right now, we're seeing anywhere upwards of 7.5%. The reality of it is it's probably closer to 15% is what they were saying. And so what does that mean from a housing supply standpoint? It's getting more and more difficult for people to afford a home. Right. And so what this transition is going into is we're becoming this nation of renters. And so when you look at the current supply that we have and how we've been backed up ever since 2010 till now, and now you still have this increasing supply because housing prices have gone up so much, you're going to be really in a good position if you're going to be putting yourself into multifamily right now. So I think that's kind of the insight that they gave.
So here's the other thing too, you talk about it from the affordability standpoint. I just talk about it from the supply standpoint, right? So they say right now that there's more cranes, more temporary fence, and more plumb bobs hanging in every city in the country than there's been in years. And even if everything that's being built right now was delivered, we'd still have a housing shortage of in the millions. So what's interesting about that is there's a lot of opportunity in the marketplace. So here I want to circle back to this senior housing for a minute. What's the competition like? I know in multifamily today, it's like clawing for space, right? It's like you're trying to sit down on a park bench with 3 other people already sitting there, and you're going to knock somebody off. And what is it like in the senior housing space? Is it as competitive right now? Is there more room in that space?
Yeah, I would say, when we were taking a look at the senior housing space, what we found, just, empirically speaking, is that most people who are in multifamily that don't have this background in healthcare, they're very intimidated by the operational side of things. And as people who are from the healthcare industry, it was funny because when we started learning about the stuff, we were just like, we get it. We get it. And I feel like that was one of the reasons that really drove us to kind of shifting our scope between the different types of investments we're looking at for us as well as for our investors. And it's because we have that competitive advantage because we've had exposure to this industry for the vast majority of our life. Yeah. And, when we spoke with some people about it, in the various different types of conferences and other events, the sense that we got was, I don't understand that, so I'm not going to invest into that type of stuff.
What do you think keeps people in that mentality? I think that's a tough space to be personally, right? And I think at times in our lives we might all be there, but what do you think keeps people trapped there?
I think it's fear, doubt, fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. If there's anything we learned, and it's funny you mentioned that because, as healthcare providers, right? you have to have this expectation for yourself that before you take any sort of action, you have to know every single thing that can possibly go wrong. That's what we're trained to do. And I mean, understandably so, because it's someone's life that's in your hands, right? So you're not going to be doing something to somebody without understanding every single thing that could possibly go wrong. And when it comes to real estate investing and business, it's actually been quite the opposite, where we've learned that if you take this ready, fire, aim approach, you're going to expedite your learning just because you're going to expose yourself to a lot of learning experiences that you can't necessarily read in a book.
Yeah. So I go back to what Angela was talking about before. She made the comment, you don't know what you don't know. And I believe there's those 4 quadrants, right? You know what you know what you don't know what you don't know. You kind of know what you should know. And if we spend more time in the don't know what you don't know, that's how we grow. But now you have to take action. And this is where I always talk about coaching, right? Accountability. Have somebody in your corner that is stretching you, making you move outside of your comfort zone. That's what you guys did. You guys you got out of your comfort zone. You got out of your box and went and did something, right? And I think that's what walks you through the fear, that gets you to the other side of that fear to be able to take advantage. And I know you guys have a bunch of new people that come to Windy City, new investors checking it out, not really sure what they want to do. I would encourage people, man, keep coming back, keep participating, keep talking to people, and continue to learn what you need to learn and take action. So get somebody like Kris or Angela to stand behind you and say, hey, take action, move to the next step, and go buy something, go do something. Even if there's rejection involved, even if there's a little bit of mistakes involved, take action, because that's how we learn, right?
Yep, there are mistakes. Yep,
absolutely. And I appreciate you coming up to our meetup every single month. It's one of those things where we are providing that platform, but what really makes it so powerful is the people that come in and attend, right? We can bring on speakers and that provides education, but the value comes in networking and having people like you who have so many years of experience that is in this industry has been extremely helpful for everybody that attends. And I also have to, give our thanks to both Jim Biggs and David Monroe. I mean, their network has really helped to expand ours, just especially in the time where COVID was happening and in-person meetups completely shut down.
Yeah, right.
It's like we have both the in-person and the virtual component now too. Yeah. And the reason for that is because we realized there were more people that we knew that were not in Chicago at one point than there was. And it was kind of fun.
Well, talk about that real quick. And then I want to go to that GOB subject. But Windy City REI meets every last Sunday of every month, and it's both virtual and live, right? Talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we were, hosting the meetup, it was just in person at Navigator for the first few months. And then, when COVID shut things down in November, we're like, okay, well, how can we still provide value, right? How can we still, keep this thing running? And so Jim had, networked us with the various different meetups that were happening across the nation through the GOB network. And, having the ability to represent Chicago as part of that GOB network really incentivized a lot of people that were in the nation to come and attend. And so that's kind of what really put our name on the map as far as a nationwide meetup was concerned. Yep. And then once we developed those relationships online, we really wanted to continue nurturing those relationships. And so when we came back in person, that was like April?
Yeah.
It was like April or so. We wanted to maintain those relationships. So we asked the owner, Eric, if we can kind of make it a hybrid event moving forward from there. It's been great.
Yeah. Awesome. And Eric's a great guy too, that Navigator Tap Room. So that's where you guys meet in person. So, hey, so big event coming up this summer. I'm excited about it. You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah. You want to talk about yesterday?
Yesterday we actually toured some hotel event venues for our upcoming summer conference that we're hosting. This is our second one. We had one in August of 2021, which was smaller, but I think we had about almost 100,
Yeah, it's around
100 people. So we're hosting this summer, either June or July. We're going to be honing down on the dates and the dates for that very soon. So that's coming up. It's, our second annual Windy City sponsored conference by the GOB network.
Okay.
And we're expecting it. I mean, we were looking at the venues yesterday and looking at these places like, holy cow, this is really going to happen, huh? It was venues that can support, anywhere upwards of like 500 people. And, we really anticipate it being much larger than what we had. Mike, were you at our conference last year by chance? I don't remember.
I was not. And, I didn't learn about the GOB network until I met you guys back last summer. And Jim and I finally connected. I've been chasing Jim for a while, and he's so doggone busy. He's probably busier than I am, which is kind of hard to beat. But, we finally connected, and then I heard about the GOB network. And so, hey, listen, I'm pretty excited. I get, Jim asked me to be a speaker this year and get to share my story. And you know how much I love to do that, because I just feel like it's giving back to other people, right? So.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. And, there's no way we could be doing this, without our fantastic partners, April and Julian as well. I mean, right. April has really kind of taken charge of, assigning all of these different things, creating the appointments and keeping things organized. And, if there's anything we learn from this is like, no one can really do this themselves, especially when you're looking to scale. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we felt extremely lucky to have the best partners we could ever ask for. Really going on this journey together and growing together as well.
Yeah, I lost the banner. So we're going to have to tell people. So tell people how they register, and we'll make sure that it's in the show notes when we post this later. But tell people how they register for that. And I know that we'll all get some social media and information that we'll be able to push out to our networks around it. So go ahead, Kris.
Absolutely. So the email address is
conference@gobnetwork.com. So just email us through there. We also will have it on Eventbrite, where you can purchase the tickets for that upcoming summer conference.
Right. Or people can connect with you guys directly too about it. So
yeah.
Hey, listen, let's just kind of talk about some fun things. You guys live in the city, and Chicago's a great place. Not so much when it snows or it's cold, but it's always, I always tell people, hey, come to Chicago in the spring, summer, or fall, because it's a great city, right? But a couple of things that you guys really like to do in the city when the weather's, a little bit more, a little nicer.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime shy.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I mean, I say we're not in our party phase anymore. So like, we go to sleep early, wake up early.
Oh, you guys are only 30.
No.
Way to get to be Jim's age. Big shout out to Jim there.
There you go. I think Jim might be watching this right now. How's it going, Jim? Oh gosh.
Hit up the bars. We love food. Yeah, we're big foodies. We like to try different cuisines, try all the restaurants, hole-in-the-wall restaurants in the Chicagoland area.
Okay, give a couple names. I love those types of places.
Oh gosh.
Latin food for sure.
Latin food. Yeah, Las Tablas.
Las Tablas.
Oh, been there.
Live music Friday, Saturday with like a nice skirt steak with some chimichurri sauce. What about what other? There's so many.
There's so many. Bavette's Steakhouse.
Bavette's Steakhouse is really good.
Wow.
So
I'm gonna have to hang out with you guys more.
Oh yeah, anytime. Yeah, we're always up for sharing a meal with other friends. It's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, talk about books for a minute.
Purple Bible, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was
Purple Bible.
Purple Bible.
Yeah.
I'd have to go right with the Bible, but.
And the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that a turning point in your life, Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we both read it at different times, and
you reread it too.
And
like get used to that. Yeah,
it really kind of like reshifted our mindset towards how we approach problems, how we approach our investing. And it really made a big difference. I mean, you've read a couple other books. I don't think I've even read either.
Like Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Ooh, I heard about that book.
That's a good one. I've read some other mindset books, but this one in particular, this one's stuck out to me. I don't know what it was about it, but those habit mindset books are definitely important, as well as the educational part too. But the mindset really takes you back of like, why are you doing this, and what habits can you take to get to your goal?
Yeah. That's interesting. So thanks for opening that door. So talk about your daily habits, Angela. What's your day look like from the time you get up? How do you start your day? I always call it, what are your disciplines to really give you maybe your power hour or whatever that is? Talk about that.
Yeah. So I've transitioned out of that 9 to 5 position, obviously, waking up, driving to work, listening to podcasts. And since then I've transitioned out of that. Just recently got my broker's license. I was studying for that for the past month. But my days leading up to that, obviously the studying part, but waking up, obviously I still need my alarm clock. I've been adding 10 minutes of meditation in the morning. And if it's not every day, it's like every other day, just to get a clear mindset and, coffee or tea in the morning, and doing as best as I can to time block to be most efficient. Cause, people who are working from home, they get, sidetracked a lot. We have 2 dogs that are always, next to me, got to take them out and, all of that stuff. But really being able to time block and write down what I need to do. And I'm more of a list person. So having a checklist, has really been important for me. And then having, at the end of the day, winding down, having our quality time, because can't forget that, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we eat dinner, we talk about real estate, and then watch TV, talk about real estate. So we have to kind of also
separate
ourselves as well.
Well, here's what I know, working from home, right? Dogs, distractions, shiny object syndrome, right? Oh, I should make this call. Let me go have a snack first. Or, so what do you do? What keeps your head in the game? I mean, what helps you stay focused?
Oh, working out too. Forgot about that. Yeah. Adding a workout. I guess I don't have a strict workout routine, but I'm trying to stabilize that throughout the week, whether it's 3 times a week. I think working out and meditating really just clear your head so you can think a lot better. I've seen it where I don't move and I'm reading something and I'm reading it 5 times and I still don't get it. I'm like, oh, I need to get up and do some physical activity, whether it's going to the gym or meditating or something like that.
Yeah, interesting.
So, working out.
How about you, Kris?
I would say the same thing. I can actually feel myself almost have this feeling of like being on edge if I haven't gotten a chance to go to the gym in a few days. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that just being able to expend that type of energy, that positive energy, you're able to bring that back home and focus on the task at hand. And, I noticed myself, I still don't work from home or anything like that. But even during these past few weeks where I have been home, I'm aware that I get fidgety or my mind starts wandering. And that's a signal to me that I just need to get up and go and do something else and then come back to it later when I can be more focused, because that's just going to be the best use of our time in the long term.
I like the way you put that. I get fidgety.
I do. I don't know. It's just I can only sit in a chair for so often. Just I can't get up and move.
Right.
I think that goes with your personality too. That type A personality. You need to do something.
I told you guys that those conversations are for the other show.
Everyone's getting to know us.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So, if you could plan your next acquisition, what's that look like right now for you guys?
Acquisition.
Residential senior housing, probably. Huh?
Yeah.
I think, probably a residential senior housing community. We really want to make sure that, we understand the operations on paper, but we really want to make sure that we have a track record of success. And in order to do that, I think one, if we can just jump in and get exposure to the actual day-to-day operations and have that experience and being able to do so, I think that would be helpful. As well as scaling up to larger multifamily properties. I mean, Julian has been a wizard when it comes to underwriting these deals at a much larger scale. And I think being able to position ourselves where we have an opportunity to, partner up with other really experienced operators in the multifamily space, as well as the senior housing space, that's really where we want to end up.
Anything in your sights right now? And I guess what else I want to know, are you staying in that product class? Do you think that it makes sense in this market, or do you need to be in another market?
It's funny because, there were a lot of reservations about like, oh gosh, maybe we should just stay here. We're boots on the ground. We understand this, this area and things like that. But, a lot of the response that we've been getting from other people though, is just, I don't know if I feel comfortable investing in that area. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at these other opportunities, around the country and understanding that once you get to this level of a scale, you have those economies of scale that you don't necessarily have to be there on a day-to-day basis. Right, and so we felt a lot more comfortable, just finding an operator that has that network, has those relationships with brokers, with property managers and things of that sort in areas where you can maximize the opportunities for your investors. And that's kind of where we're at this point.
Yeah. It's interesting when you start to look at the dynamics of other markets and you start to follow, I always tell people that there's 7 or 8 traps, but the top 3 are, population growth, job growth, and household income. And if you can't check the box on the market, submarket, and property in those, in at least those top 3, it's not a deal worth doing, not a market worth being in. So, I'll go head to head with some people who love Kansas City, and I just don't see it, who love Chicago. I mean, Jim and I have had this conversation. I can't tell you how many times about Chicago. And I just, I love doing business here. I'm in the property management business here. I have a company called Urban REI that we service, and we bring a solution for the real estate owner in property management that, I've been around long enough to know that doesn't exist, right? And I think it starts with good, solid communication and processes in place. And I love that business here in this market because there's a lot to fix. And I think that there's metrics and fundamentals that I can bring to the table and help repair some of that. But from an acquisition standpoint, it's kind of like yin and yang, right? I don't feel it here. So I look really hard, and I think you guys have started to do that as well. Look really hard at markets and where are they going to perform the best for you. Hey, so I guess I would say this, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, because here's how I would look at it from a 10,000 foot view. If I have people that are leaving Chicago to go to Florida or Texas or Tennessee, and they're moving to Florida at a rate of 1,000 people a day, where would I rather own a multifamily or a senior housing community, right? So
that's where people are going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the numbers, and you guys, we talked about some numbers early today about the population growth and baby boomers and the millennials, and and I think that those trends. Well, hey, Angela, I don't know if you said this or somebody else said it, but the millennials are the biggest demographic of people age 29 that are trying to buy housing that's ever existed in the world, in our country.
I think I read that in an article somewhere. Yeah. That a lot of millennials are just buying homes.
Right. That's a big number, and it's kind of funny because I know a guy who's in the M&A business, and he's in his mid 30s. And he said to me one day, he goes, people my age, they don't know what to do with their money. So what I do, what you guys do as far as raising private equity, as far as syndicating multifamily apartment, senior housing deals, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for people in that age demographic that, they get hung up just putting money in the bank or stock market stuff, and they don't take on any alternatives. And, And I believe that, we all need to have some of those alternative investment opportunities out there in our portfolio for future growth, right? So
absolutely, especially with inflation going up at 7.5%. I mean, the best hedge against that is securing something, against long-term fixed rate debt at like historically low interest rates right now.
Right. So, somebody said, well, somebody asked this question, how does multifamily work with inflation? I said, well, interest rates are going to create inflation. You got supply chain constraints. You can't get material costs have gone up. I said, as rents go up, if you're involved in multifamily as being the premier asset class right now, because there's other asset classes, but if you're involved in multifamily as a premier asset class, it's going to give you that hedge. I'm glad you brought that up because that's really important. And people need to look at that because, I think that we're going to see some corrections here shortly. And people need to. Did you ever see the movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, Eyes Wide Shut?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, probably a good movie to go watch. It might be a good Netflix for you.
Yeah.
But it's eyes wide open. You got to walk into this with your eyes wide open. It's an interesting process right now. So, hey, any last thoughts you guys want to share?
No, first, just thank you so much for allowing us to be featured on your platform, Mike. It's always great seeing you every month. You were a guest speaker at Windy City REI last month, and you provided really, really great insights to all of our attendees as well as to ourselves that we didn't even really get to know until you presented that. So, thanks for just always being a great supporter of us and a great supporter of Windy City REI. And, we would love to, see if we can do something together in the future.
Yeah, it's absolutely my honor to have you guys on. And I was glad when you said that you'd be willing to. And I love having both you guys on. You have a spirit and an energy about you that's just contagious. So thanks for being here. And I know I've met some really great people at your event. So if people are in Chicago, come out to Navigator Tap Room Live. If you're not in Chicago and you're somebody else, make sure you tap in online. You see at the bottom of the screen there how to reach out to Angela and Kris. And hey, I'm going to move you guys out to the green room if you want to hang around with me backstage for a minute. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll end this thing, and then I'll come talk to you guys. All right?
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Get this work in here. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. Oh, you guys are back. How'd you get back?
Can't get rid of us.
Yeah. Like you guys, but go away right now, would you? Sorry. Hey, what a great morning, right? Had Kris and Angela from Windy City REI on. We talked about, coming from a W-2 job, being a healthcare professional, coming into the real estate space, and in the midst of that, starting a real estate meetup group, Windy City REIA here in Chicago. A lot of opportunity. They bring a lot of education to the platform and a lot of interest from other people. So, hey, if you're local, come on out the last Sunday of every month to their meetup, Windy City REI. If you are not local and you can't make it to Chicago for those events, then, we're online or they're online. So you can reach out to them and get that information. Hey, I want to thank everybody for being here Saturday morning. We had a great turnout this morning. A ton of people on LinkedIn and Facebook, and several people look like on YouTube. So I like that this keeps growing. Please tell people about it. Go to social media. Wherever you get your fix on social media, please follow us. Follow Multifamily Unplugged. My core intentions. We'll continue to try and bring great relevant content to you. What's going on in the marketplace? How do you scale your business? How do you grow your business? I know next week we'll be back with another great guest. I'm excited about that. And I'm going to keep that as a suspenseful surprise so that you get here for it. Want to talk real quick about March 8th. March 8th, we are hosting, I get to host a Women's Day event. And it's kind of funny how this started, right? It started as a result of speaking at the Windy City REIA in January. I left that event with a group of ladies. We wound up going out to eat. And after that, one of my assistants, Carol, said to me, hey, you need to do a Women's Day event. I said, plan it. And she planned it. And we're doing this event, and it's going to be great because we're really going to honor, entrepreneurial women, powerful women, people who are in the real estate space or not. And, I'm going to invite you to be here. It'll be March 8th, 3 hours in the morning. There'll be information coming out. So watch social media, email me for direct information if you need something. And make sure you reach out to Kris and Angela as well. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.